Rachel, Dave, thank you so much for the chance to chat with you. I absolutely love the film. Sometimes I think about dying is something truly unique and special. Um, so I
I
appreciate
agree.
it. So this is great. This is great. Rachel, what was it that made you want to tell the story?
Well, the script reached me in November 2020, and it was before we even had vaccines out in the world. So, I was still very much in that space, a headspace. And, here was a film that had this very funny, complicated, challenging woman. And the focus of the picture was so much on, the minutia of her day and the things she's touching and noticing and hearing and eating. And here I was, a woman who had spent the last 2 months, I think, going through a similar arc that she does, which is you begin from a place of maybe there's tension around the discrepancy between those things filling your day versus maybe something you wish were filling your day. Um, and sort of by the end of the film, and I think certainly by the time this reached me at that point in 2020, I I had found a place or was looking to find a place where those details, the minutia was filling my day with a place of from a place of celebration that I get to make this delicious cup of coffee and I get to go out and feel the sun on my face and I get to send these emails to my colleagues who I miss so much. And I thought the film was sort of like reflecting that through multiple prisms, the prism of her work environment, the prism of romance and connection or friendship, and the prism of just social connection at large. So that all felt like a wonderful opportunity.
I love the fact that you touched on connection there because I mean, this is a film that often really sort of sits in. I'm going to use the term normalcy, but maybe that's not the best word to use. But it sort of sits in these moments of everyday life with
Hmm.
such quiet. But there's a real struggle, as we see with Daisy's character, to connect with other people on a personal basis. Even Dave, with your character, on their night together, especially. Do you think to you both, do you think that that's been a struggle from us coming out of the pandemic? Do you think that, what is it that makes it so difficult for us to be real with one another?
Well, I don't know, Dave. Do you have something to say about that?
Yeah, I think it's just fear, a fear of like how what you're gonna think of me. It's like, I think sometimes you feel, I mean, me personally, it's like you give up too much of yourself, or you tell not secrets, but like certain things about your personality and comes out, and then you feel it's judged, or somebody says something not to your liking, and you revert back. It's tough. Do you know what I mean? It's like because I think a lot of people not they're not being fake, but they put on to get through a day. So you just leave the house or apartment and you're like, I'm gonna put on. And it's tough, I think, more with COVID as well, because it created this thing of like not only like I don't want to catch COVID, but now I'm like, hey, I don't even want to go near people. So
Yeah.
now you're like you're gonna give me this disease. So I'm like, now I got no trust for strangers and or even the people around me. So then you just sat isolated for 2, 3 years and you sat with yourself. It's terrifying. And then now you got to come out again and almost like, man, I was isolated for so long and now I have to come out and try to like interact again. It must have been jarring. And I think a lot of people who didn't think they had anxiety found out they did.
Yeah, it's interesting the conversations around mental health, especially well, not even just even before the pandemic. I'd say the last 10 years, but especially the pandemic, have really changed. They've really
Mhm.
changed our conversation, um, and yet it's still difficult for us to do. You know,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
funny.
Yeah, we were very fortunate that we were able on Sunday at our screening in LA. We invited Mark Duplass to come and moderate, particularly because he's been so wonderful and how I think he's been a real ambassador for crystallizing these conversations that we've all started having more differently. and I think are eager to have in a new way. And I found the way that he's been doing that um almost overwhelmingly comforting and exciting. And it was wonderful to have a conversation with him about these things because heretofore the conversation vis-a-vis mental health with our film can sometimes go into the realm of pathology,
Mm,
or we'll have audiences wanting to pathologize, and I resist it so intensely because to me, if you put these aspects of her character, her experience into a filing system, then we're actually not universalizing anymore. We're not actually talking about how this is a part of like basic human fabric, and it can be also fluid. Um, so that conversation on Sunday was wonderful, and I think certainly there's been I don't mean to just say that's the only time we've had that conversation, but just to demonstrate, I think the way the film's trying to talk about it is in the way that that we're trying to encourage, or we're hoping to encourage in that way, as opposed to pathologizing. And I think the reason why that conversation is moving in the direction we're encouraging, I think writ large, is because, as Dave pointed out, the film is very much exploring the difference between unconscious living and conscious living.
mm,
And I think that the pandemic, or sort of people that have diligently been unconscious, and I don't even like denigrate that. I mean, I think that's a very valid coping mechanism of being a human being. But I think the pandemic, it made it impossible to live in that unconscious. You had to be so conscious, even if you didn't want to be, of yourself, of others, of your choices, of your environment, of how you were filling time. And I think so now you can talk about, or I find it more available to talk about mental health as a common byproduct of being a person, as much as like what you had for lunch,
mm.
is a byproduct of being alive, and being awake. So those are the ways in which I've seen the conversation change. I felt this film was absolutely slotting into that zeitgeist, and I enjoy every opportunity that we get to talk about that.
And it's interesting. I'm just real world talk here since you're talking about it. When we ask somebody how they're doing, the first thing they say, their reflex is, "I'm fine," or "Good,
Mm,
good, good, busy."
mm, mm,
Like
mm.
the three words, bam, bam, bam. And and I think we see in this particular film that these sort of flippant answers, they don't really help anybody. They don't even help the person. It's just self-protection, as you'd sort of talked before, Dave,
Mhm,
about fear.
mhm, mhm,
Um, and the film is so striking as well visually. I love that play between fantasy and reality. Uh,
mhm. Oh,
for
wonderful.
um,
Yes.
Dave, what was your experience working on set with this particular film with Daisy? And I mean, this is such a unique role for her. I mean, she's so got such range. But for you both to be, it's such a quiet film in so many ways.
We laughed a lot. I think everyone really laughed a lot. Again, I feel like it's hard to connect, obviously, and we connected, like the whole crew connected. I don't know, it felt organic. It never felt forced. Everyone actor was giving. Everyone was kind to each other. Daisy specifically for me was like so giving and such a great scene partner. She's immensely talented, but like it made it safe and comfortable. Rachel as well from the beginning made it just like a wonderful environment to be in, and I hold it dear to my heart from everyone. Even like I love the energy of the PAs, James and Blake, like
James and Blake.
they're like, people don't really, I don't know, you got to give it up to them. They really were like
Oh,
phone of like, everyone, people get jobs and they do the jobs, but everyone felt like this is a project they enjoyed. So I think at the end, that's why you get like such a beautiful film, because nobody, is there, people want to get paid, but I think it's like, man, I love this story. And that's what it felt like. And the city of Astoria, I don't know, man. I had a great time. I fondly think about Astoria and my time there, even after that was like 2 years ago. I always think about it and stuff. And then I made these beautiful connections with these people that a lot of them are still in my life, and I still talk to.
I think that's incredible. And honestly, it's such a wonderful film. For you both, just as we wrap up, what do you hope people take away from Sometimes I Think About Dying?
Well, Dave's heard me say this a million times, but I I want people to ask the question, how are you doing, and wait for an answer and
Mm.
listen to it. I want people to hit 2 o'clock and realize they can, for $2, go buy joy at a donut shop of their choosing because they're grown up,
Yep.
and that they can see each other as human beings, even in the most passive moment of your day, like the guy giving you a towel at the gym or something. You're like, hey, buddy, how's it going? No, but really, are you doing okay? End of your shift, beginning of your shift. You really engage. That's a treat we get to give ourselves. It's not a duty, it's not an obligation. It's actually like, that's the secret, right? To meaning is that.
This just came just in my head. I was thinking about. I was like, there's a donut place around where my apartment here in Los Angeles, and some days like if I mean, I love the donuts there and the coffee. It's like cash only, so it's like old school. And it
Mm,
was, I would, if I was feeling a little bit bummed or not, I would just give me this little thing to talk to the owners, like they work there, but like it's been closed like for a while. I didn't know why. It was like odd, and yesterday I went through and he the dad went to he's in the hospital, but I just
well,
remember reading like there was like a GoFundMe, and it was just like I don't know, it was just such a part of the day sometimes where I'd go get this donut, delicious donuts, and have the
mm.
interaction with him, and he was always like sugar, and I go, nah, man. Like, I was always a not sugar, but I just loved how he's like, man, I'm gonna still ask you on the off chance you're gonna say yeah. And and I like always, I don't know, I don't even know the guy and his wife, but it was just like, I don't know. And I just remember reading that thing, it was just like, man, it's
But
just
he's a
that
guy to you.
he's a
He's a
guy to me. And there was no phones in there. It's just like old school. You're not even paying debit. It's just like this. I don't know. It's yeah. And before I know we have to wrap up. Is that a Top Gun poster?
It is. It is. Well, no, this one's Indiana Jones. I got Top Gun over
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
There
there
you
it is.
go.
All right. So
Top Gun.
yeah,
One day, Dave and I we'll make something like that.
man.
Except they'll be like, Rachel, this is a movie about planes. Why do we keep just like having people sit quietly thinking, we gotta know what's going on inside him before he gets in that plane?
Yo, dude, I'm down. Let me know.
I think
That,
Cruz would be in.
that would be
Yeah.
fascinating because all he does is run. So, I mean, to have
Yeah.
him
Like,
sit.
what if you sat down? Radical. I mean, he's gonna get to the point where that's all age will happen. And he will have to sit down.
That's the impossible mission for him. But anyway.
And that's when I'm in. Like, that's where I shine.
Thank you both so
Thank
much
you,
for the
man.
time. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. The film is great. Have a great day. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.